Hello. I know it's been a while since you've seen my face. It's been about 2 weeks back to week 10 of the NFL season, back to week 11. We're here in week 14. It's been a while since I've been on camera. I just completed my first set of shorts for December and late November. We're getting back into all of the episodes, back into the NFL, fantasy football, a little bit of a brief college football playoff discussion, and then, without further ado, we are going to get back in our schedule for the rest of the year, going into next year, for the playoffs and to the Super Bowl. So I shouldn't have anything that interferes from here on out. So expect an episode every Friday or Saturday. I'm excited. This is fun to be back. And we got a lot to talk about because I missed a lot of time. So we're going to have to catch up on some things. And of course, we're going to do what we do best. Fantasy football and the NFL season. It's holiday year. I hope you guys are excited for that. Let's get back into the Game Day Hours podcast, episode 29 for week 14 of the NFL season. We're getting into the Christmas spirit, obviously. We got all this Christmas decorations for my HUD, so I hope you guys are excited to see that. Before we get into NFL and fantasy football action, I want to briefly talk about the college football playoffs because where we stand right now, we have conference championship games, so we're talking all the big ones, the SEC, the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, AAC, Sun Belt, and just all of that. I decided to make this week about shorts. Now, there were some people who commented, which appreciate all the comments. I appreciate, what you guys thought about certain things when it comes to the conferences. As far as the college football playoffs goes, I'm a Notre Dame fan. I'm a UNT alum, and the fact that both my teams could potentially make the playoffs is very cool. Now, of course, for Notre Dame, I need BYU to lose, and I need them to hopefully choose Notre Dame over Miami, which would be a hard discussion, but it's a possible one, and potentially have an Alabama loss that's so bad that pushes them out of the playoffs. Who knows? For UNT, they just need to win their bowl game. For UNT, they just need to win against Tulane in their conference championship, and then they'll make it 11 or 12, depending on what goes on in the ACC. Those are the things that are going on, but Sunday is going to be nerve-wracking. I would hope to see both my teams there, but we'll see how things go. Moving on to fantasy, it's been up and down since I've been gone, but last week I won 155 to 132. It came down to my defense performing far better than my opponent's defense who had Philadelphia, and Drake May was the last piece to just get me over the hump, and we ended up winning, and that was cool. Currently, I'm in 4th place, sitting with a 7-6 record. Now, based on everything, I'm going to be making the playoffs no matter what because this is the last week before our playoffs begin, and our playoffs are from week 15 to week 17, which would be the championship game. But right now, I'm in position to either get as high as 3rd place or get as low as 6th place. Either way, I make the playoffs. I won't get a bye though. Now, in my other league, the league that me and my family have started, I'm 1st place, and that's not changing. I have been winning convincingly. To be fair, everybody in that league is semi-new. Some people obviously have been doing it for a while, but most of them are new. So obviously, I'm going to take advantage of that and be able to win those, but it won't last for long. So I'll have my fun while it lasts. When it comes to my team this week, there's been so many moves to the point where I'm not even going to discuss what has happened over the weeks of my fantasy moves. All I know is that one player currently sits on my team that wasn't there a couple weeks ago, and that's RJ Harvey of the Denver Broncos. So we're immediately going to get into this week's matchup, and I'm playing the 5th place team. If I win and get lucky from above, I'll get the 3rd place spot, which would be theoretically what I want. I don't want to be in the 4th or 5th bracket and have to play number 1 if I win the first matchup. So hopefully I win and the person above me loses. For this matchup, this is my lineup. I am going with Jared Goff because Drake May's on bye, and I have a little bit hope. Now, obviously, once you see this episode, by then, that game between Detroit and Dallas is already concluded. So I don't know what happened in that one. Hopefully, Jared Goff plays well. For my running backs, I have Josh Jacobs, Javonte Williams, Quinshon Judkins, and RJ Harvey is going to be starting because a lot of my receivers are on bye and some of them are not projected very well, but all my running backs are projected over 10 points, so I'm going to take that. Currently, I have in Drake London, but if they sit him out, I will switch him for Malik Washington. That remains to be seen. London if he plays. If not, we're going with Washington. And then for kicker, I have Chase McLaughlin of Tampa Bay, and then I'm going with the Broncos defense as they play the Las Vegas Raiders. And that is what I'm going to be going with. I hope that I win, but we'll see. As we transition into picks for this week, as far as all the games go for Sunday and Monday, one thing that you're going to be expecting from these videos up until the playoffs are playoff scenarios based on matchups if they exist. And in order to make sure that everybody is on the same page, we're going to start these segments looking at the current playoff pictures from both the AFC and the NFC, while also looking at my Power 5, the top 5 teams I believe there are in the NFL. Let's first start with that. That I think is going to be a great place to see where we're at and how big these matchups are, because there's a lot of big matchups this week. Winners that could take the lead in their divisions and make some big jumps in the playoff picture. Let's see what we got so far. Currently in the AFC, New England is number 1 at 11-2, while Denver is number 2 at 10-2. Now, if Denver wins, they'll be the number 1 team because they have a better in-conference record. And then number 3 is Jacksonville. They've come out of nowhere. They passed Indianapolis. Indianapolis is starting to slip a little bit. They have the same record, but Jacksonville currently has been doing better as of recently. And then number 4 is currently Baltimore at 6-6, which is interesting because they're also tied with Pittsburgh at 6-6, and Cincinnati's at 4-8 with Joe Burrow back. And the fact that Burrow ended up beating Lamar Jackson, that makes that playoff picture very interesting. All the wildcard teams are as followed. We got the Chargers at 8-4, we got the Colts at 8-4, and we have the Bills at 8-4 with teams like Houston and Kansas City and Pittsburgh that are just currently sitting out. That is a very interesting playoff picture overall, because when I look at that one, some of these teams that are up there, I mean, look at the top 3. New England, Denver, Jacksonville. Who would have thought that would be the top 3 at any point this year? But it is, and even when Indianapolis was there, that was crazy. The AFC is wide open, and it's very insane what's going on. But then we look at the NFC, and all of a sudden, I'm starting to wonder if we're on the same reality platform. The number 1 team is Chicago at 9-3. Who would have thought the Bears, who have been really bad for the past few years, under Ben Johnson, first year as a head coach, and right now they're the number 1 team in the NFC, which is just absolutely insane. And then you look at the Rams, who are 9-3 at 2nd place. They lost to Carolina last week. That's why they dropped. And then you have Philadelphia at 8-4, who's been slipping. They've been slipping pretty badly. And then you have, at number 4, you have Tampa Bay still, but that division is going closer with Carolina, which just something you got to look out for, because Carolina is surprising me a lot this year. And then you got the wild cards. These are actually some very fair wild cards. You still have Seattle at 9-3. They can swap at any moment if they want to. And then you have Green Bay at 8-3-1 at number 6, and the 49ers at 9-4, who are going to be on bye this week. And then some teams that are looking in. You got Detroit, Carolina, Dallas. Those 3 teams, that's just insane what's going on. And Dallas has a shot to jump Philly if Philly continues to nosedive. And we saw that happen 2 years ago, so we'll see what happens for this division. But it's getting very interesting. There's a lot of interesting combinations and potential scenarios that exist within the NFC, like the AFC. It's been a weird year for football altogether. No lie. It's just kind of crazy. So looking at all these playoff pictures, it's clear and obvious that the amount of teams that are going to be in my Power 5 you would have never expected at the beginning of the year. And you know what? I'm just okay with that, because chaos in college football and chaos in the NFL, when it does not require my teams to take the blunt of the hit, is actually pretty fun. So with the Power 5, I decided to kind of tear apart my original Power 5 and kind of recalibrate, because teams have really moved and dropped, and some have risen and some have really dropped hard. So we're going to be starting with a new Power 5 and then continue on from that from the weeks leading all the way up to the playoffs. With that said, let's take a look at the Power 5. Number 1 is New England. I mean, New England has been one of the most consistent teams, along with Denver, who's at number 2. New England started off 1-2 like Denver and have won out ever since. New England is sensational. Drake May is an MVP candidate, and when you look at that defense for New England, it is very dominant. And then the win against the New York Giants being up 30-7 at halftime, I get it's the Giants, but still, knowing how the Giants have played close to a lot of teams, they stood out, and that was a big deal. Even in comparison to when New York played Denver, obviously there was things that were different back then. Cam Scattenbo was still healthy when that game happened, and they ended up choking that game to Denver. For the Broncos, I mean, being at number 2, they don't look great on offense, but their defense is taking care of business, and they're somehow managing to still win games. That's why they're high up there at number 2. I just think that Denver is better. I just believe that New England is better. Despite the loss, I still have the Rams at number 3 as the best team in the NFC. If I had to put them head-to-head with the Bears, I'm pretty sure I'd take the Rams more than likely, even if it was in Chicago. I put the Bears at number 4 because they have been playing impressive. Really, it comes down to who they've played. And when I look at the Rams, you know, they had games against the Colts, they have games against the Ravens, kind of like the Bears do, and the Bears lost to the Ravens and they beat the Ravens. They just have better wins in general. That's why the Rams are higher. And then at number 5 is the Seahawks, because they have a very impressive record, 9-3. 3, and even though they dropped one to LA, they've still won out since and even shut out Minnesota. So they deserve to still be up there. That's the Power 5 ranking right now. I hope you guys agree with it. If you disagree, let me know where you disagree. How would you have swapped them? And let me know what you think about New England and Denver and how much you feel confident in them going to the Super Bowl. I kind of want to see what you guys think about that. Over these last 3 weeks that I've been out, I have been super consistent, averaging a 10-5 record. In week 11, I went 10-5. In week 12, I went 10-4. Last week, I went 10-6. I got all the Thanksgiving games wrong, but then afterwards, I did a lot better going down the line. So I'm happy for that. And right now, that puts my record at 117-77, which is so much more different than it was at the beginning of the year when I was barely getting positive records. So I'm happy about that. Hopefully, I can do better and continue on my reign. And we are going to start right now because I've been waiting for this. No better place to start than with a team that is currently in my top 5. As we look over the Seattle Seahawks and the Atlanta Falcons, these are two different kinds of teams, both very talented, but Atlanta has been just failing down the line despite the talent. The injuries are stacking up. The fact that they don't have Drake London and Michael Penix stacks up. This is a team that had so much potential, and you saw it, and you could understand that they could have been a playoff team, and they've ultimately have choked multiple times. So now they're sitting at 4-8. They're basically done. They would need a miracle, and that miracle I don't think is going to happen. There's no Christmas miracle for them. As for Seattle, a win here and an LA loss puts them back in potentially first place, maybe even second, depending on how they view with Chicago, and Chicago has a tough game with Green Bay. Right now, Seattle is chasing the top of the NFC West and obviously the top of the NFC. They're in that range, and again, Sam Darnold is right there with a really good record sitting in the wild card. It is very interesting how his journey has been in the last 2 years. With Michael Penix out and Drake London, if he plays, he won't be at 100%, and he's most likely not going to play, judging by how he's looking so far in the week. I have Seattle winning this game 31-21. The reason why it's going to be this close, one, it's in Atlanta, and two, I believe that even though Atlanta's missing 2 vital weapons, they still have Bijan Robinson, who's going to be a big weapon. Kyle Pitts is still there, Darnell Mooney. They're going to score points, but Seattle is going to win at the end of the day. They just have a better lineup up and down currently. Next up is a really strong matchup despite the records. The 4-8 Bengals, the 8-4 Buffalo Bills. And the reason why this matchup is so intriguing is because Joe Burrow is back, and with how the records are in the AFC North, the Bengals are not out of the playoff mix just yet. As a matter of fact, I think they have rejuvenated themselves. They have the win over Baltimore, they have the win over Pittsburgh, they have a split series there. Obviously, Cleveland is no threat. Cincinnati could actually make the playoffs, but they have to continue winning, and they have to win big here. As a matter of fact, there is no room for error, so they have to continue playing. Now, there is a lot of error with Buffalo because they're 8-4 at the bottom of the wild card position. If they lose this game and Houston wins, Houston has the head-to-head flip. They'd be looking outside the playoffs. Right now, they're chasing New England. Let's say that Buffalo wins, they'll be 2 games behind New England. They need to get New England in the next time they play them, but if they lose, they're 3 games down with 5 games left to go. That would be hard to catch up with. And right now, New England doesn't have too hard of a schedule. They have them and Baltimore left, but I think those are winnable games for New England. So Buffalo would really need this if they wanted a chance to get back in the AFC East. And they definitely need it in case Houston wins. And we'll see how that goes. But with this matchup, something about Joe Burrow being back is a whole new ball game for Cincinnati. And I believe the Bengals will win this matchup 37-31. It just comes down to the fact that I trust Joe Burrow in this moment right now. Josh Allen has shown inconsistency in his game. When they played Houston, he was basically getting sacked almost every single play. He's getting rushed every single play. He struggled big time, and Houston, they pounced. And Houston, so far, is slowly creeping back up into the mix. The Bengals need a win and potentially a Baltimore win, and they will be right there, almost ready to strike once more. Next up, we have Tennessee and Cleveland, and there are no playoff implication here. Really, it's all about the first overall pick, which looks like it's going to be Tennessee, and it's not even going to be close. Tennessee has had a really poor season. I can't blame that all on Cam Ward or what's going on. I think the coaching has been bad. They don't have the pieces ready. Now, they can continuously keep getting better through the draft, and also, if they wanted to trade their number 1 overall pick and potentially get more draft picks or a better player in return, they can do that as well. As far as Cleveland goes, I mean, the Shedeur Sanders hype train, very shaky, but you can tell he is a talented quarterback who I think is better than Dylan Gabriel overall. He's shown that in the game against Las Vegas, and at one point they were leading against the Niners before the Niners took completely over and ran away with that. Right now, I think this one is easily Cleveland's game to win, 23-14, because Tennessee, I don't expect them to continue winning, especially with that prospect of being the #1 overall pick, so I'll take the Browns here. Next up, we have the 3-9 Washington Commanders, the 4-8 Minnesota Vikings. Two different types of teams last week. Washington went to overtime in which they lost to Denver in primetime. As far as Minnesota goes, absolutely shut out, and we already see what's going on in Minnesota. It's starting to break apart at the seams with the potential they had, and I thought they were going to be a lot better team. Apparently they weren't. Now, it's clear and obvious Minnesota has no route to the playoffs, neither does Washington. These two teams are basically done. Minnesota is just maybe a week, a loss, maybe 2 weeks away from being eliminated altogether. But I still think the Vikings are going to win this game 24-23. It's in Minnesota. Washington still might not have Jaden Daniels. He might be there, but he won't be 100% for sure. I don't even think Washington should start Jaden. They should sit him down for the rest of the year and look forward to next year because they're not going anywhere. They're not catching up to Philly. They're not catching up to Dallas. That's just not going to be a reality for them. Really, both teams should lose this game, but I think Minnesota's going to win. Next up, we have a divisional matchup between the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets. Jet season's done. We're not even going to worry about that. As far as Miami goes, there is a sliver of hope. A win here, a Houston win, maybe a Kansas City win, depending on how you look at it record-wise. And this team would be sitting at 6-7, and they wouldn't be too far behind. So there might be a chance for Miami to sneak closer to the playoffs and maybe make a push like they did last year, along with Cincinnati, but then got blocked out by Denver, which is ultimately why neither team made the playoffs last year. I believe that Miami has the pieces. Even with the Tyreek Hill injury, you still have Tua there, you still have Devon Achane, who's been playing great. Ultimately, that offense is still very lethal. And the Jets, they have no business winning. I'm going to take the Dolphins to win 27-19. There is a sliver of hope, Miami, but you got to put it on, and you need a lot of help. Next up, New Orleans and Tampa Bay. Really, there's only one team vying for a playoff spot. That's Tampa Bay. The other one is looking for a really good draft pick. And right now, New Orleans, they blew a lot of things up. They sent Rashid Shaheed to Seattle. I mean, this team is clearly in need of something, potentially a quarterback in the draft. Why would this team win right now? And even if they could, I don't think they would. Tampa Bay is a really strong team, though they've been really inconsistent as of recently and took a really hard loss to Los Angeles a couple weeks ago on Sunday night. So right now, Tampa Bay has to be shaking a little bit because they're not alone in the NFC South. A loss here, they could be switched. I don't know if that's going to happen. They could be switched with Carolina. Carolina could take lead even though they're on a bye. Right now, Tampa Bay needs to worry about winning and keeping a lead over Carolina because it's really close. It is really, really close, and they need it big. I believe they will. 27-9. I mean, New Orleans has nothing to play for. Tampa Bay has a playoff berth to play for. Next up, we have Indianapolis and Jacksonville. Now, this is the first game that I'm looking at a big playoff implication right here because whoever wins this game is going to take lead of their division, the AFC South. Indianapolis has been slipping. They have lost the last two games to Kansas City and to Houston. As far as Jacksonville goes, ever since the Houston loss, they've been slowly getting back up there. And as of last week, they flipped, which was big for Jacksonville. And now Jacksonville controls a little bit. If they can win this game against Indianapolis, that's a big deal. And I believe that if Jacksonville can do something like that, then you're going to really see some improvement from a Jacksonville team who at one point we were sitting there and wondering what is going on with this team. Travis Hunter's no longer going to play, but then they got Jacoby Myers, and ever since the trade deadline they've been playing very well and have caught up to Indianapolis. I do believe the Colts are going to win 24-21 because I do believe the rushing attack of Jonathan Taylor will be utilized a little bit more and Daniel Jones will have a better game against Jacksonville, but it's going to be a very close game. All I know is the winner of this has the best odds to go ahead and win the AFC South. And now we have another winner takes lead. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens, both at 6-6 and both close to the top of their divisions. That's the weakest division in the AFC, obviously. But looking at a matchup like this, I mean, Baltimore started off 1-5. Now they're 6-6. Obviously, they're 5-1 in their last 6 starts. Pittsburgh has dropped their last 2, which have been really harsh for them. As for Pittsburgh, you started 4-1. You started really hot, even a win against New England, who would go on to just have this insane winning streak. But then these last 7 games, you're 2-5. You're doing horribly. You have the win against Indianapolis, and that's really the best thing you've done in that span. As for now, I mean, Pittsburgh does not look like a contender, and Baltimore does. But Baltimore took a harsh loss to Cincinnati. So now, if you're Baltimore, you really need to win this game. Pittsburgh has the tiebreaker. You currently haven't played Baltimore a second time. You currently haven't played Cincinnati a second time, and right now the Bengals are currently sitting there looking at you guys saying, we could pass you very, very soon. Pittsburgh doesn't look that strong. Really, Baltimore needs so desperately to win this game. If they do, they'll jump to 7-6 while Cincinnati sits at 5-8. If they manage to beat Buffalo. Right now, Baltimore is cheering for Buffalo to win and to really push a very gentle lead over that entire division. I believe the Ravens will win this matchup 14-11. It's going to be a defensive showcase, but I expect Baltimore to come out of this alive and on top of the AFC North. I have to imagine with all of these crazy matchups having the AFC that Denver must be having the time of its life as they go on to play Las Vegas, who is 2-10. Denver, if they win, they will currently have the tiebreaker based on conference record over New England. And so they will be 11-2, the number 1 team in the AFC, and they really stand in a very good spot. They still got Kansas City left on their schedule. They still got the Chargers left on their schedule. But if I'm a Denver fan, I'm looking at this game and I'm like, yes! How amazing is it that we get to have a week against a really weak team, albeit one they barely beat the last time they played, but it's the Raiders who are very weak. I believe that Denver won't mess around this time and they will win 20-7. I just think that the Broncos are super happy right now. Now they cannot be looking past at all. They got to win this matchup and then from there just keep one game at a time. Never look past, never look past, never look past. They have a legitimate shot to take hold of the AFC altogether. They have to be having a party right now. We have the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers, another big matchup because the winner of this matchup will take lead of the NFC North. And right now with how the records are looking, that's a high playoff spot now that you got Philadelphia at 8-4. I mean, this is a big time matchup for whoever wins. If Chicago wins, they continue to keep lead in the entire NFC. If Green Bay wins, LA loses, Green Bay would take number 1. If they didn't, Green Bay would probably be number 2. That right there is big news for them as well. It's in Green Bay. Green Bay's actually been playing very well these last 2 games. Chicago, though, you started off 0-2, and since then, you're 9 out of 10. That right there is an incredible matchup, and really, they should have beaten Baltimore. I don't know why they blew that matchup. In all seriousness, they could be 10-2 right now. But the big win against Philadelphia, obviously, they're feeling themselves right now. Green Bay's big win over Detroit, they're feeling great right now. I think as these 2 teams meet, I'm going to take a curveball, and I'm going to say that Chicago is going to win this matchup 24-17. Most of the time I pick Green Bay, but the momentum Chicago is on, it feels real. Even though a lot of teams say they're overrated, it feels real with Ben Johnson. That's why I'm taking Chicago in this matchup. Now, I keep saying, if LA loses, if LA loses, if LA loses. The problem is, the Rams are like the Broncos right now. They're in a very nice spot, seeing Chicago has to play Green Bay, and that they're going to be playing the 3-9 Arizona Cardinals, who have not been great this year. Arizona has just, it started off good, and then it dwindled. They've done the complete opposite of what Chicago did. They started off 2-0, and then fell apart. They're the only team that gave a win to Tennessee. I mean, that's a bad team right there. And LA has to be very happy after what they had to go through against Carolina, losing the way they did. It was very embarrassing. They want revenge. A win here and a Green Bay win potentially puts LA back in the number 1 spot, and that's something they're trying to get. They're trying to make sure the NFC road goes through Inglewood. So I believe the Rams will win here 31-10. It just makes sense. They need to use their firepower. They need to take advantage of a matchup like this the same way Denver should. We could be looking at a situation where the NFC goes through Inglewood and the AFC goes through Denver. And that right there is very interesting to look at. And then you have Sunday Night Football between the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a really, really big matchup because Houston has come out of nowhere, starting the year off really slow, and all of a sudden they're back into it. They have to be feeling super good right now for where they're at. Their defense has been playing amazing. They got back CJ Stroud. They just beat Indianapolis. They should be really happy right now. They had a win over Buffalo on Thursday night a couple weeks ago. They right now are probably super happy with what's been going on. As for Kansas City, I'm going to have to put it in perspective here. This is a win or go home for Kansas City. 6 of the teams out of 7 that are currently in the playoff picture have played the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City has beaten Indianapolis, and Kansas City has beaten Baltimore. They've taken a loss to LA, they've taken a loss to Jacksonville, they've taken a loss to Denver, and they've taken a loss to Buffalo. There is no room for error if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. If you take a loss to Houston, there are so many teams that have tiebreakers over you. You would have to win out and hope to God the pieces fell in the right direction. Because if you lose, you have 2 games below Houston, with Houston owning that tiebreaker, knowing Buffalo owns that tiebreaker, knowing if the Chargers were to win again, they would hold the entire tiebreaker. You would almost be locked out of the playoffs. So this is a win or go home for Kansas City. But after watching that game against Dallas, there's so many flaws in Kansas City, I couldn't even count them all. The defense are okay, but the offense have shown some signs that I just can't get over, especially the offensive line. The offensive line is not that strong, and going against Houston, that's going to be a big problem. Give me the Texans to win. I can't believe I'm saying Houston, but I'm saying Houston for this one. 16-13. It won't take that much. That's how good Houston's defense has been all year. Denver had to get really, really lucky to get out of that matchup alive, even though CJ Stroud wasn't playing. You have CJ Stroud playing. I believe the issues fall on the offensive lines and which defensive line can really rise up to the occasion, and Houston has been one of the best in the NFL when it's come to that. I will take the Texans, and with that, we might finally see the first time in Mahomes' career where he does not make, let alone an AFC championship, the playoffs altogether. This is make or break for Kansas City, and right now, I don't like their odds. And then we have Monday Night Football between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Los Angeles Chargers, both sitting at 8-4 in their respective conferences. Philadelphia is number 3 in their conference. They still have the lead in the division, but it's slowly dwindling and nosediving for them. The offense has finally shown signs of weakness. Everything that has potentially was ready to go wrong has started to go wrong. They blew a 21-0 lead over Dallas. Dallas ends up coming back to win, and then they lose to Chicago Friday night, or Friday afternoon, I guess. Point is, they've dropped their last 2. The flaws and the cracks are showing. It's looking like 2 years ago when Dallas would end up passing them late in the year. That was a big deal. But looking at it now, the Eagles, they have to win. Let's say, for the sake of argument, Dallas won yesterday. I don't know if they did, because I'm recording this on a Wednesday, but if they did, let's say Dallas won, improves to 7-5-1, and Philadelphia loses, and they would go to 8-5. Dallas is half a game behind you, and that's a scary thing to think about. So Philadelphia really needs to get out the weeds here, and they need a win badly. As for the Chargers, you're sitting at 8-4 at the top of the wild card in the AFC. Denver, they could potentially go to 11-2. A win would put you at 9-4. You have Denver again. You already beat them once this year, so maybe you could potentially get the sweep and then hope that you get close in record to where you can flip them, but that would require you win this game and you win your game against Denver. And I believe where it is right now, the Chargers, albeit they had a game against Jacksonville that I thought was very concerning, I believe the Chargers will win this matchup 27-16, because what can go wrong for Philly right now is going wrong, and the Chargers, their defense can exploit that even worse. Therefore, I will take the Chargers to win. And that'll do it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you do, please leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. Go follow me on all my social medias. I'll be back for entire December, and there's so much playoff implication. It's very fun. Fantasy football should be fun when playoffs come around for that. And of course, the college football playoffs comes out this Sunday. Hope you guys are excited for that. For me, I hope it's Notre Dame and UNT that makes it, but we'll see. I don't want to hold my breath, but we'll see. All I just can hope for is luck. And that's it. I hope you guys are excited for that. Get ready for my next episode. For episode 30, we'll be looking over week 15 and the start of the fantasy football playoffs. So with all of that said, hope you guys have a great day. Take care, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.